Assalamualaikum Warahmatullahi Wabarakatuh. It's me Izza Rahmatika Mukti and my partners Laili Istianah and Kiki Indriyani. Today we are from Group 2. We would like to discuss about naturalistic and ethnographic research. Ethnographic research is qualitative research procedures for describing, analyzing, and interpreting a culture-sharing group's shared patterns of behavior, beliefs, and language that develop over time. It can include language, rituals, economic and political structures, life stages, interaction, and communication styles. The ethnographer typically spends considerable time in the field, interviewing, observing, and gathering documents about the group to understand their culture, sharing behaviors, beliefs, and language. So, when do you conduct an ethnography? You conduct an ethnography first when the study of group provides understanding of larger issue. Second, when you have a culture-sharing group to study, one that has been together for some time and has developed shared values, beliefs, and language. Ethnography can provide a detailed day-to-day picture of events such as thought and activities. You can conduct an ethnography when you have long-term access to a culture-sharing group so that you can build a detailed record of their behaviors and beliefs over time. You may be a participant in the group or simply an observer, but you gather extensive field notes, interview many people, and collect letters and documents to establish the record of the culture-sharing group. So, what are the types of ethnographic research? It is divided into three kinds. Firstly, the realist ethnography. Secondly, the case study. And the last, the critical ethnography. The realist ethnography. A realist ethnography is a popular approach used by culture anthropologists. It is an objective account of the situation, typically written in the third-person point of view, reporting objectively on an information learned from participants at a field site. The researcher reports objective data in a measured style, uncontaminated by personal bias, political goals, and judgment. The ethnographer produces the participants' view through closely edited questions and has the final word on interpretation and presentation of the culture. The case study. A case study is an important type of ethnography. Case study researchers may focus on a program, event, or activity involving individuals rather than a group. When case study writers research a group, they may be more interested in describing the activities of the group instead of identifying shared patterns of behavior.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Kiki Indriyani. Now I will explain about the critical ethnography. Critical ethnographies are a type of ethnographic research in which the author is interested in advocating for the emancipation of groups marginalized in our society. Thomas 1993. Critical researchers are typically politically minded individuals who seek through their research to advocate against inequality and domination. And what are the key characteristics of ethnographic research? The key characteristic of ethnographic research is A. Culture themes. A culture theme in ethnography is a general position declared or implied that is openly approved or promoted in a society or groups. See Bradley, 1918. For a discussion about cultural trends, as with all qualitative studies, this theme does not serve to narrow the study. Instead, it becomes a broad lens that researchers use when they initially enter a field to study a group, and they look for manifestations of it. And the next B, a culture sharing group. In the study of a groups, ethnographers identify a single site. For example, an elementary classroom locates a group within its example a read a group and gather data about the groups. Example, observe a reading period. This distinguishes ethnography from other forms of qualitative research. For example, narrative research that focus on individuals rather than group of people. Culture sharing groups in ethnography is two or more individuals who have shared behavior, belief, and language. And the next C, shared pattern of behavior, belief, and language. A shared pattern in ethnography is a common social interaction that establishes as tacit role and expectation of the groups. Second, the groups share any one or a combination of behavior, belief, and language. One, a behavior in an ethnography is an active taken by an individual in a culture setting. Two, a belief in an ethnography is how an individual thinks about or perceives things in a culture setting. And three, language in an ethnography is how an individual talks to others in a culture settings. And the next D, file work. File work in ethnography means that the researchers gathers data in the settings where the participants are located and where their shared patterns can be studied. And the next is D, description, themes, and interpretation. A description in ethnography is a detailed rendering of individuals and scans to depict what is going on in the culture sharing group. This description needs to be detailed and teach, and it needs to identify specific. It serves to plant the reader figuratively in the settings, to transport the reading to the actual scan to make it real. Okay, that's all from me. And next, my
Assalamualaikum Warahmatullahi Wabarakatuh. My name is Laili Istianah and I will continue to explain about the key characteristics of ethnographic research. The next is context or setting. Ethnographers present the descriptions, themes, and interpretation within the context or setting of the culture sharing group. The context for an ethnography is the setting, situation, or environment that surrounds the cultural group being studied. It is multi-layered and interrelated, consisting of such factors as history, religions, politics, and economy, and the environment. This context may be a physical location such as descriptions of the school, the state of the building, the color of the classroom walls, or the sounds coming down the hall. The last is researcher reflexivity. Ethnographic researchers make interpretations and write their report reflexively. Reflexivity in ethnography refers to the researcher being aware of and openly discussing his or her role in the study in a way that honors and respects the site and participants. Because ethnographic research involves a prolonged stay at a site, researchers are concerned about their impact on the site and the people. And the next is, what are the steps in conducting an ethnography? The first step is identify intent and the type of design and relate intent to your research problem. The intent of your research and the type of problem you seek to study will differ significantly depending on your plan to conduct a realist, case study, or critical ethnography. For a realist ethnography, the focus is on understanding a culture sharing group and using the group to develop a deeper understanding of a cultural theme. For a case study, the focus is on developing an in-depth understanding of a case such as an event, activity, or process. In a critical ethnography, the intent changes dramatically from those used in a realist or case study project. The second step is discuss approval and access considerations. In these steps, all three types of designs follow a similar procedure. You need to receive approval from the institutional review board. You also need to identify the type of purposeful sampling that is available and that best answer your research questions. And the next steps is use appropriate data collection procedures. In a realist ethnography, because you will likely spend considerable time with individuals in the field, you need to enter the site slowly and as unobtrusively as possible. For a case study, the intent is to develop an in-depth understanding of a case or an issue, and researchers collect as many types of data as possible to develop this understanding. In a critical ethnography, the data collection is less focused on time in the field or on the extent of data, and more on the active collaboration between the researcher and the participants during the study. The next step is analyze and interpret data within a design. In all ethnographic designs, you will engage in the general process of developing a description, analyzing your data for themes, and providing an interpretation of the meaning of your information. These are typical data analysis and interpretation found in all qualitative studies. However, the different types of ethnographic designs vary in their approach to these procedures. The last step is write the report consistent with your design. A realist ethnography is written as an objective report of information about the culture sharing group. Your personal views and bias will be kept in the background, and a discussion at the end of the study should indicate how the research contributes to knowledge about the cultural theme based on understanding the shared patterns or behavior, thinking, or language of the culture sharing group. However, a case study may emphasize the detailed description of the case. You can write entire case studies to focus on description rather than a thematic development. In a critical ethnography, the researchers conclude their reports with the critical issue that initiate the study and discuss how they, as well as the participants, have changed or benefited from the research. And the next topic is about how do you evaluate an ethnography. The first is identify a culture sharing group or case to study. The second is focus on cultural concept. The third is provides evidence. The fourth is engage in fieldwork and gathers the evidence. The fifth is shows an analysis of this evidence. And the last is portrays the researchers as reflecting on their own role.
Then we move to naturalistic research. The definition. Naturalistic research is a research that focuses on how people behave when observed in genuine life experience in natural settings.
I will explain about planning naturalistic research. Step 1. Locating a field of study. Step 2. Addressing ethical issues. Step 3. Deciding the sampling. Step 4. Finding a role and managing entry into the context. Step 5. Finding informants. Stage 6. Developing and maintaining relationship in the files. Stage 7. Data collection in situ. Stage 8. Data collection outside the file. Stage 9. Data analysis. Stage 10. Leaving the file. Stage 11. Writing the report.
Okay, I will continue the explanation about the next topic. Pattern 1980 identifies six types of sampling that are useful in naturalistic research, including sampling extreme deviant case, that is done in order to gain information about unusual case that may be particularly troublesome or enlightening. The second is sampling typical cases. This is done in order to avoid rejecting information on the grounds that it has been gained from special or deviant case. And the next is maximum variation sampling. This is done in order to document the range of unique change that have emerged, often in response to the different conditions to which participants have had to adapt. And the next is sampling critical cases. This is done in order to permit maximum applicability to others if the information holds true for critical cases. And the next is sampling politically important or sensitive cases. This can be done to draw attention to the case. And the last is convenience samplings. This saves time and money and spares the researchers the effort of finding less amenable participants. So that's all about and the next explanation will be delivered by my friends. Thank you.
4. Sampling critical cases. 5. Sampling politically important or sensitive cases. And the last, convenience sampling. That's all my group's presentation. We do apologize for making many mistakes. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.